Okay, we're going to get started, please. Welcome, everyone. Today's October 27th, 2025. It's now 4:01. This is a meeting of the Heber Light and Power Board. We have in attendance our board members, Kevin Payne, Kendall Crittenden, myself, Heidi Franco, Brenda Christensen, and Sid Ostergaard. And we hope that our other member, Erin Sheetwell, will join us soon, but not sure. Okay, we want to welcome our guests here. Randy, Laura, thank you very much for coming. And we'll dive into our consent agenda, everyone. The consent agenda has the September 24th, 2025 board meeting minutes, the September 25 financial statement, September 2025 warrants. Board, if you would also approve this, I would suggest that we take agenda item number 4 and move it up to the consent agenda for the approval of the surplus items. If anybody would like to make that motion or have any questions.
I would make that motion.
Thank you, Kendall. There a second? Thank you, Kevin. All right, let's just go around the table,
Aye.
please.
Aye.
I say yes.
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 Okay, thank you. That passes 5-0. Now we're on our second agenda item, which is the discussion of the preliminary impact fee study. Is Mark online? Jillian? Just you. Okay.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yes, me.
Just
Jason,
me.
thank you very much for taking the lead on this.
Yeah. So anyways,
So I should also say the audit committee, Kevin and I talked with Mark and Jillian extensively on Monday about this, and now Jason can address all your concerns too.
yeah. So this is what Mark will be presenting in the public hearing. And what is, after the study was completed, we could raise impact fees by 2.5% from where they're at. He'll go into, how that occurred. The meat of it is that average cost of residential unit, along with the contributing value of that unit, which led to, about an impact average of $6,911. It takes you to this. So it's important to know that our impacts are residentially driven, meaning, it's not large industrial customers or large commercial customers that are really driving the impacts in the system. So the recovery period of that investment for the customer is over a 7-year period, and that's recovered through their rates, and that's why there's that credit, so that you're not double dipping to that new customer by the impact fee as well as the aid to capital that's built into the rate. And but this is important to know. When we get down here, there could be companies that really base their impact on large commercial or large industrial customers, which would factor in these different values into what the impact fee cost is per amp. So from that, you take those dollars and you convert them into what the cost is per amp. And so our average amperage that we are hooking up is a 200 amp service. And so, the current rate is $6,744 for a 200 amp service. That'll go up to $6,911 with the 2.5% increase.
Oh, all those others too, but that you're just
Yeah.
highlighting that one.
Yeah, I'm just highlighting it because that's the average, and that's pretty much one of the numbers that gets used in the study is, what's the average amperage of the impactful customer class. Here we go again. And this goes into the three-phase values, and that's why it jumps up in cost, is because now you're talking about a three-phase service, 200 amp three-phase service. And same thing there, slight increase, which is what I was anticipating. It's knowing we've done it. We've stayed on top of impact fees, and you can see here that we stack up pretty well if we're truly trying to get the most out of the impact fees. So the average 200 amp service rate of the cities that UFS polled is $3,937. And ours will go to 6,911 with that 2% increase. You can see St. George is about 4,800.
2 or 2.5%.
2.5%.
Yeah.
So Lehigh is at 1,980. You can see that we're well higher than pretty much everybody. Dixie Power is probably the closest to us on the residential service. You can get down here and you can see that on a commercial three-phase, which isn't a real driver on our system as far as the impact, that 200 amp service is 23,940. We're at St. George, 30,000. But we still remain a little bit higher here. I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that when St. George does their impact fee study, they see a lot of these types of services that are impacting them today. And so they more baseline with those commercial accounts than we would.
I'd probably get away with such low numbers.
Right, they're just not in that same type of growth mode.
They're already.
Maybe so. Their infrastructure is already in from former impact.
Yeah, is Lehigh? That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, the one that surprises me is, why Lehigh City is so far behind. Really, the rest of, Morgan City's definitely done some increasing, and I've talked to them about it, and they continue to stay up on it too. So I would assume that, they're a growth town too, that these will continue to move upwards for them as well.
Maybe Lehigh was able to get better negotiations with the developers to pay for things. No.
Yeah, where those cities, because, all of these except for Dixie Power, these are departments within their cities. So they might be, they might have really high water impact fees or something like that,
But because they're consolidated into the city, then when the city, brought them in or annexed or, gave them the density that they wanted, it was a different situation than what we have.
Yeah, what we have, we would compare more to Dixie Power, which is a co-op down in the southern part of the state. So, anyways, that's my report, unless there's any questions. Not a big increase, but after you've done double-digit increases for multiple years in a row, I wasn't anticipating a real large increase this year.
Where's that public hearing?
I was just going to say, we're going to set up a public hearing for the November meeting.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm going to pull that up. The 19th.
19.
And that needs to be posted soon, right, Ryan? Yeah. Okay,
All these will get posted tomorrow.
okay. We hold the public hearing at 6, right? So we can decide when we want to move the other board meeting to either 4 or 5, depending on the rest of the agenda. Okay,
I'll have a county council meeting that night, but I will leave it to come to the public hearing
thank you.
for this.
Okay.
Jason, can you send, this wasn't in the packet, can you guys send it out?
It is in the pack.
It is? I didn't see it.
I
don't know.
thought it was.
It probably is.
Yeah, I'm in the board packet right now.
Okay.
So that's why I know that.
Okay. That'll be interesting. Okay, anybody have any other questions? And we'll move on. Okay, next agenda item is the review and possible approval of resolution 2025-06 authorizing the issuance and sale of not more than 28 million aggregate principal amount of electric revenue bond series 2026. So we have Laura Lewis here, our consultant, as well as Bart Miller, and I think Randy's here too to answer any questions. Bart, did you want to start this presentation or do you want Laura?
I'll let Laura.
Right, well, thank you for having us here. It's very nice to be here. It was a great drive up. And some of you may or may not remember you went through this process 3-ish or 4 years ago. And seek a command performance of that. So the bonds will be issued on parity with those bonds. What that means is you're a bond holder, and should there ever be insufficient revenues, which we do not ever expect, but should there be insufficient revenues, the issue on parity means that if $1 comes in and you have $2 worth of debt, each of those bondholders get their pro rata share of whatever those revenues are. You're not obligated to raise taxes or anything like that. You are pledging your system revenues. You are, however, under a covenant to maintain those revenues, those net revenues, in such a way as to project that you have a debt service coverage of more than 1-to-1. You have to maintain 1.25 debt service coverage on these bonds. We go through projections to verify that, validate that. The rate increases that you have had were done, I think, with some vision in mind that you would need to issue these bonds and take that into account. So with that, if you choose to adopt the parameters, you'll be setting the maximum parameters within which the designated officers can act without having to come back to the board. The chair indicated that the maximum par amount is 28 million. The maximum interest rate is 6.5%. The maximum maturity is 31 years, and the maximum discount at which you would discount the bonds to sell them, part of that discount is paid to the underwriter, is 3%. Now, I do not expect that you will be anywhere near that interest rate. I would hope that you will be in the 5-ish%. We'll probably have 5% coupons on the bonds. The interest rate, obviously is driven by the market rates, and the long end are coming down a little bit. So I expect us to be well below that. But every once in a while, you get a bond holder or a bond purchaser who, for some reason, wants a little bit higher coupon bond or a lower yield. So that also authorized the setting the public hearing on November 19th for this purpose, issue the bonds. And with that, I will, if Randy has anything to add that I have forgotten.
Just the approve the bond law.
Should I have you just, I know the market fluctuates every day,
Yeah.
so ballpark, where are we today? If we were closing a transaction, range.
I priced a couple of transactions the week before last that were sort of on the both ends of the extreme here. I would try to say when you mentioned Lehigh, we had a Lehigh water revenue bond, went out 20 years, AA category, and they came in at just under a 4%. We priced at the other end of the rating, still investment grade, a fiber optic bond that was triple B minus rated, which is still in the investment grade. It went out 25 years and it was right around 5.13 was their tremendous cost. So again, that kind of gives you the
Lower than
The
the
range.
6.5. And what's
Yeah.
our rate right now?
A plus, yes, and with that A plus, we also were able to secure a bond insurance, there are two AA bond insurance companies. And if we do the quantitative analysis, they'll say, yes, we'll insure these bonds for whatever fee. We know what that AA insured rating will garner us in terms of their rates. If their fee makes it so that still is fair for us, then we
Right.
pay that fee and we go ahead and insure them. They're not idiots, and usually their fee eats up about half the benefit, but it gives us
Still have
half
to
the
spend
benefit,
it.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
So can I ask, in these bond resolution documents, it's saying that it would be a total cost of the 46.67 million with the interest, but is that at the maximum interest rate, the 6.5%? Okay, so we're hoping to bring that down. Okay, and it's a 31-year term. Is there going to be early payoff allowed?
Yes, that's a very good question. So, and the reason we have 31-year term, we expect that you'll be in the 25 to 30. So let's say that we decide for your cash flow purposes, we want to go 30, but sometimes because of, payment date preferences, we could be at 30 years and 1 month.
Yeah.
And that's why I want that 31 years, again, just to have that maximum flexibility. Traditionally, most bonds are callable at par, meaning you don't have to pay a premium after 10 years. In certain markets, we are able to get a 9-year call without a premium penalty. And I always ask that of underwriter if I can push them even to an 8-year. I've asked that recently and have been met with resistance. Well, sure, we can do that for a 1/4%. I'm like, oh, no, thank you. So we'll push them as far as we can on that to get a good par call, but at the very worst, it would be a 10-year par.
Okay, that's totally reasonable with me. Let me see. Bart, I had asked you on Monday to give us a breakdown of the 28 million with the $18 million natural gas peaking facility, everyone, the 3.03 million in land that we just purchased up by River Road intersection. And then did you have a breakdown on any of those other categories you discussed?
Yeah. Believe they send that request to you, Jason.
And then there's one more thing here.
But I meant one thing related to
Of
that.
course, of course.
In that maximum par amount, I also allow Heber in case we have to find a debt service reserve fund. If we don't get insurance, or insurance doesn't make any sense quantitatively, then out of the bond proceeds, we have to fund an amount that sits with the trustee that's like, well, if you miss a payment, they draw on that first, right?
Mhm.
You get use of that money at the end if you don't ever draw on it, if you don't expect you will, and you get the benefit of interest earnings while those funds remain idle. But I also set that par amount high enough not just to allow for your project costs, but I have to take into account what if we have to fund a reserve. Also takes into account funding the cost of issuance and insurance payments and that. So that's why the number that you see, whatever Bart's going to show you, is not going to equal 28 million because I always
I
have
see.
for headroom in addition to what your project amount is.
Basically, all of the parameters of your underwriting is kind of conservative to
For the top.
give you.
Okay, thank you for this, Bart.
Okay, so what you're gonna see here, if you've looked at your bond or your board packet for the last, how long ago we asked you to do that? These are the 6 main projects that are listed in there, part of this finance. Okay? We have plant 1 replacement, we have the gas plant 2 transformer upgrade, substation rebuild. We have the Midway substation high side rebuild, and the Daniels Canyon substation, the North Dam substation, and the new office building phase 2. Okay, so those are the total project amounts for those projects. And it comes in just under, or just over 84 million. The 26 amount in the capital plan that you approved last month is that column. And you can see that there's $26,350,000 to do that work next year. Now I have a few notes that are down below here that I'll go through in a moment. But then the 27 amount, we wanted to make sure that when we did this financing, we're really only grabbing 2 years worth, not going after 84 million, but let's see what we can get done in the 2 years. Kind of thing, and then we'll reevaluate what we need to do for 28. The other thing to consider is the 2019 bonds. They'll be callable 9, and it may make sense to refinance at that time, so we do that analysis then too. But where I'm going with this is you see that we're asking for $28 million in parameter resolution, which we could swallow 26.5 of it next year. But we've also got impact fees in there, and we figure over the course of these next 2 years, with what we have this year, probably about less. See that we're still gonna be short. Jason and I feel comfortable because of contingencies. For example, plant one replacement, that is to build the building with the latest estimate they have given us. That's not us doing any value engineering on it, or kind of looking at where areas to save.
Well, that's down at the station, isn't it?
Yeah,
Move the generators over to
the back side of our new office building.
the backside of the new office. I thought it was
Some peaking facility, Kelly.
yeah, okay.
So there's a chance that we can dial some of that back. And it's dangerous for me to say, but we could probably pull 5 million back and still have a pretty good facility. And Jason may disagree with that, but so that there's some room there, but until we have those bids in, until we've done our value engineering on that, we stick with what's approved in the capital plan. The gas plant 2 transformer upgrade and substation rebuild, that number is pretty well locked in. Now 1.9 that we're seeing next year, we take delivery on that transformer towards the end of next year. It's a $1.4 million transformer. The other half is to cover the engineering and get the concrete pad for that transformer set. Okay. Midway substation high side rebuild. Big here. This is one in which we need to do some work there, but in conversations we had recently with Pacific Core, we may not have to do it as emergency as we were thinking.
As soon as we thought.
So that project could potentially bump. It's still in there to get the engineering and the long leads for next year. But there's a chance, well, actually it's easement acquisition, property acquisition and engineering for next year. Pacific Core, they currently have a cap bank out there that they're no longer gonna have need of once they complete their line per se. So we could potentially buy that land and we would need that land. But they're not as nervous. That's the impression I got.
So is it an acre less than the piece that they'd be vacating? 3/4?
It's not, but we
We
don't.
need a little bit more land to the west, of that entire property to do a full 138 kV build out. Like I say, we need to have some further discussions with Pacific Core. At the very least, the current rack that is there needs to be built.
But that's a project that could slide, and so, I mean, there, you pick up 5 million there, you pick up 5 million, plan on replacement, and now we're talking true apples here.
So what about the Provo Riverside by HVSSD? Are we not putting that on the list right now?
What we need to do to get that, retired is a line that we're working on, line with the Heber district
The other.
between the two
Between town,
lines.
in
Yeah.
town. Okay, understand. Yeah, it's been on the list in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not on this list, 'cause it's a little bit smaller dollar amount.
Yes. Yes.
It's on that capital plan.
It's on the cabinet.
Plan to come.
Okay, right, and it's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next two, those Daniel Canyon and North Canyon or North Dam substations, those ones, The capital plan currently has engineering and long leads in 27 on the Daniels Canyon. That very easily could shift to the north dam. The 3 million that's in there at the north dam is to recoup what we've already pulled out of reserves to buy that land. So that easily could show zeros on the Daniels Canyon and 4 million and 26 on North Dam, 3.5 million. So depending.
So it'll come off the list.
Yeah, it's, what's the name of that well on the north side of the road?
The slopes.
The slope.
Yeah.
They're really pushing, but out in Daniels Canyon, we're not getting the push with,
Independence.
independent.
A little rumbly, but not a lot.
But then that very easily could be before it happens. And then the new office building phase 2 work. That's those are the projects, like I say, you see that we're about 10.5 million short. Given what knowledge we have, there's a chance that we would bump into outer years. Finally, so.
Anyone else have questions to Bart or Laura? Randy, did you have anything you wanted to mention? Okay, the bond hearing in this document is scheduled at 4 p.m. Does it need to be at 6 p.m.?
Public hearing?
Yeah, the public hearing for this.
Only you have a policy.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like then we'll have the 4 p.m. and then we'll do the 6 p.m., I guess, right?
Public hearing for the 2 items at 6.
Well,
We'll have a public
Well,
hearing
but-
for.
we can change it, I'm assuming, in here.
Yes,
If we
you
wanted to
can. If you
hold
wanna
both of
do
them at
both at the
6.
same
I'd do
time,
it both at 6. It's
I'd say-
better for
Okay,
Yes.
I think
So-
we
Yeah.
should do them both at the same time.
I think so
Four
too,
Who's
but
gonna make the most?
there you go.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. That's why I'm asking. And then let's see. Okay. No other
Do
questions?
you need a motion to set those public hearings in?
It's actually for the resolution too, Kendall, the 2025-06 resolution for the bond parameters up to 28 million, given what Laura has said on the parameters and on the discount rate and on the,
So are we voting? We're not voting for the resolution now. We're just,
Yeah,
you
That
can if
won't
you
be-
want to.
won't we wait till after the public hearing to
Oh,
vote
you're
on
right.
that?
Exactly.
We'll
Thank
vote
you.
on the resolution
Resolution.
today. The resolution actually sets forth the calling of the public.
Okay, okay.
But it also sets up the parameters. Yeah, right?
so that's what it is.
It's approving the
We just have to-
parameters.
we just have to do it again.
Yes,
So-
public hearing.
Mhm.
Motion, approve the resolution and amend the hearing.
So if any item you felt as a board needed to be amended, it's still be done at
Absolutely. This doesn't bind you to issue bonds, it just puts people on notice, but does authorize it. And starts a 30-day contract.
Okay, so everyone, the possible motion would be the resolution 2025-06 authorizing the issuance and sale of not more than 28 million for the series 2026 bonds parameter resolution, and we would set the public hearing at 6 p.m.
On the 19th.
on
I make
November
that
19th.
motion
Thank you, Kendall.
and approval of resolution 2025-06.
All right, second. Aaron, any other discussion? All right, we'll start on the vote.
Aye. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Do we need a motion to set the public hearing, on the impact fee study? Or is that in the thing?
that has to be, we don't have
That
to
was
have
a
a,
discussion.
yeah.
We didn't.
we
yeah.
don't have to have a motion on that.
it doesn't need to be.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
We have it on the calendar.
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay. All righty. Thank you very much. If you want to go home before it gets too late, you're more than welcome to, and
thank you, Laura.
we appreciate your time. Okay.
Every extra minute to. tackle more.
Excellent. I hope that goes well for
And
you.
I should have mentioned, the plan will be to have these bonds issued and sold and closed by the end of February.
Yes, we've seen the bond calendar, at least the audit committee did. I don't think it was in this board packet, but Bart, you'll want to send that calendar out to the rest of the board. Yes. Okay, all right, then that means we've already done agenda item number 4. Let's turn the time over to Emily for the review and possible approval of the IRP, the Integrated Resource Plan. Thank you.
Emily, no hard feelings, but I have to leave now and join by phone if it's not.
Okay. I'll add a meeting.
Why did you come? All good? Oh, okay, something come out.
Sorry, take
Yeah, but
care,
I'll
Aaron.
join in just a
That's fine. We'll look forward to it.
And
If
just
you're
order,
not,
so it's-
yeah, if you're not getting it, just text and we'll see what we can work out.
Aaron, you might see back.
It's one of those things. It is one of those days. That's how mine was yesterday. Sorry, you don't need 2 in a row.
No, don't.
Okay,
Emily, please.
okay, I don't really have a lot of changes from the last, version that you saw. I just kind of documented the public input. We got about 26 surveys back. So far, I'll continue to compile the results and, include those, and I'll, show you in my wholesale power report what I got so far as far as the answers that came from that. But, just to remind everybody, the load forecast we looked at was between 3% and 7%, kind of settled on an average of 5% as far as load growth goes for planning purposes. And then just maintaining that 30% renewable energy share, which most of those survey results kind of agreed that that was a good place to be and didn't feel like they wanted to pay more on their power bill to have a higher level of renewables in the portfolio. So that seems like, with the small number of, responses we got, that's a good place to be, and also just works well in our portfolio. And then this plan prepares us for the extended day ahead market, the EDM and resource adequacy requirements that we'll be having to comply with come May 2026. And it also, I think, gives us a good portfolio that helps us manage costs and keep our rates competitive, and supports environmental responsibility and customer satisfaction. So those are kind of the drivers, goals of the IRP, and I feel like this plan meets those goals with a good portfolio. So we'll have Jordanelle increasing in around 2032, 2033. We'll have the TUA falling off. We'll have our small portion of Pleasant Valley Wind falling off. We'll have a few other small changes, and then to compensate for that and growth, we've got the 2 natural gas projects that we're a part of with UAMPS, and then 4 resource projects that are in the works, solar and storage, wind and geothermal projects that we're looking at. So I feel like that plan keeps us, at our renewable level that we need to be at, and it gives us a good diverse portfolio. So that's really all I have, unless you guys want to dig into any details.
We just need more than 26 people.
Yes, I
Right.
agree.
Did we do the raffle thing where you'll enter the
I-
for a
I'm sorry,
credit
I
window?
failed to post that and put that out there. I can still do that. I
Let's
think
still do
we
it.
can still continue to just get feedback from customers. I think it's a good idea. I could just leave that on the website all the time.
True,
It just
but
depends.
there's still no incentive. We want to have a little incentive.
Yeah,
So is everybody good with offering a $10 or $20 credit if they, to be entered
yeah.
into a raffle if they fill out the survey and?
So the raffle would give
I
that.
would rather.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a
you
good
got some
idea.
Better swag there.
Yeah.
Give them such-
What's the next thermostat?
Yeah.
Smart thermostat.
Smart therm.
Yeah, let's do that.
And that might be a better incentive
That's a
than
much
that.
better
Yeah,
incentive, Right.
and Riley just said she could have people fill them out when they come in.
yeah.
So the Heber Power website has the link. Is it on the first page?
It is.
Okay. Thank you. I'll put it in the city newsletter. And Kendall, do you think you could get the link into the county newsletter? And then if you'll send us the details on the Nest thermostat to be entered into that. hopefully that
I'll
would
put
drive
it
some
into
people
our
to say-
newsletter too.
Yes.
What kind, yeah. You'll send that to me?
I will.
And me too, honey. And we'll send it to
That's
you.
the link to the, public survey.
Survey, yeah.
Yep.
And then we can almost mention in there that they're gonna give away a smart thermostat.
Yeah, if you fill it
Use
out,
smart
enter it in.
thermostat. Nobody will know what the other one is.
Do we have it go to the? Do we have it go to the end of November, just for the thermostat giveaway? You see what I mean? Or
Do it
we make
after
go
November?
Do we make it go to the first of the year? Cause then they'll wait till December to take it and then they'll be all mixed up, cause you know, you'll forget it with Christmas.
Let's,
I would.
I think let's do it the last of November, the first part of December. give
Those
it
who've
away.
already done it, you'll enter them in, I'm assuming.
You
They weren't aware of it, but they ought to have.
You
could put into November and then you could always
can always
extend it.
Yeah.
Or we could do another round.
Extend it now.
Yeah,
another
or we could do
thermostat?
another round.
When we do around 24.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Hopefully we-
And this thermostat saving.
Yeah,
Then the $10.
yeah, that's a good idea. Thanks, Jason.
The budget stays on track too.
Yeah.
Did you want to say anything more about your wholesale power report?
Oh, Just, we're about, if you combine the wholesale power and the natural gas, we're about 4% under the budget.
Mhm.
Over on wholesale power, really low on natural gas this year. It's always a trade-off, and we're about, 1% up in September energy, but 9% up in September peak. Interesting, but it was a cool September, you know, mild weather. And let's see what else. That was it. That's it really.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Now
so
we have.
Gone through agenda item 5 and 6. Now we'll look at the,
We have to have an approval, don't we?
a possible approval of the IRP. Thank you very
Mhm.
much. Would anybody like to make the motion to approve the integrated resource plan that Emily's presented?
So
Thank you, Kevin.
Second.
Thank you, Brenda. All right, any further discussion? All right, let's start the vote.
yes,
Yes.
Yes.
is Aaron on yet?
Is Aaron available? Okay, so that passes 5-0 with Aaron excused. Thank you. Now we're to discussion of item number 7, which is discussion approval of the budget directives. Bart, please go ahead and pull that up and walk.
You might have heard multiple office return this issue. There has been a late change to it. Harley can never get her information.
It's probably all of those benefit changes. So, geez.
Show her.
I'm not really. Harley.
That's great. Just keep track of your names for the record, please. That'd be great.
Okay, so this has been done pretty much every year since I've been here. We've come to the board over with some direction on some of these items that tend to be a little bit more controversial. Sure. Thoughts on it before we build it into the budget and have a long drawn out discussion in public hearing. That we're like, wait a minute, I didn't ever approve a 3% raise. Now we kind of get that before we go and put it in, so we're not surprised at that. Okay. So with that background, we start with compensation. We've tried to adopt a strategy here at Heber Light of retaining our employees rather than training our competitors' employees. And so some
Good job.
criticism out there is that we may be a little bit on the healthy side with compensating our employees year over year. I'm an employee, I don't feel like we are. But pretty much. That being said, we usually have a cost of living discussion and a merit pool discussion. I usually bring the cost of living from the Social Security Administration. They usually have that information by the first part of October, part of the budget. All in October. This year with the shutdown of the federal government, they're a little bit slow on that. They're supposed to announce on Friday at 2.7%. It could be different than that, but based on the last information from Social Security Administration, 2.7, so I've built that into the budget. And we'll continue to do so. If that changes on October 24th to 2.5, I'll make the adjustment. Okay.
So that's government cost adjustment, what they're doing,
Cost of
Yes.
living.
cost of living,
Based off of the consumer price.
yeah.
And that's a nationwide. That's nationwide. So anybody who's on Social Security, they're anxiously waiting to hear that number because their benefit will go up by that next year.
And they take it out for insurance anyway, so.
We've historically followed suit. And then we've historically done a 3% merit pool where we take 3% of the total wage and use that as an incentive to raise employees' wages for those who are performing, meeting their goals. Some overperform, and so we may give them 5%, some underperforming 1%. The bucket you'll grant us is that with the exception of those who are on an apprenticeship scale. Their raises are built in based upon their apprenticeship. So, any questions on wage? Okay, I will build that into the budget. Benefits, this is where we've seen some headache. Employee health is looking at about a 10% increase on the medical. Dental, vision, they are looking at 1.5% average on dental. That dime, add them up 47 times. No. So that's where this has changed a little bit. The dental will have to be adjusted. We have that information. URS is anticipating about a 1% decrease effective July 1st. We'll keep our holiday vacation sick leave as well. And I ask every year, I ask the audit committee on Monday on the board stipend, is that number to stay the same or do you want to increase? Okay. Our capital program, you guys probably see it more than anything. Quite familiar with what we're putting into the capital. We love to be minimalist and just kind of maintain the system as it is, but the fact of the matter is people want to build in this valley. So we are having to expand and match their growth, but we're also trying to anticipate additional growth. So we put in where we need to those network upgrades. We'll use the kayak to drive the cost of the growth of the developers. We bring that. So the recommendations stick with the hybrid growth approach. Energy efficiency, we've done pretty good year over year with that $150,000 number. We have not hit it outside of when we do like midway street light replacement on Main Street, Heber City. As far as like with our customers on the rebates, so we do pretty good. We actually are. I tell everybody that we are the friendliest utility in the state of Utah. I would argue we rebate more types of devices. and Because the cheapest megawatt electricity we sell is we're still not in 150,000 this year. This year, we're probably,
Over, right? And we don't spend it.
no, we got a fresh 100.
I'm just saying. Still in the same.
So, any questions on energy efficiency? You want to do anything different? Okay. Training. As of right now, we have one employee receiving 100% tuition reimbursement. And we have a series of employees that are in the apprenticeship program. As well as there's always a few licenses out. Still listed. We do try and train all employees. Soft skills. These are
What's the capture on that tuition reimbursement? 5 years? They have to stay with the company for. A year or two.
And you have to meet a grade level, right? C or higher?
B.
B or higher, okay. And it's always after the fact, right? You don't pay up front. They've got to pass the class and submit the transcript and then we pay, okay.
And just for the board, I am talking to 2 other young employees. They haven't, committed yet by any means, but there could be more of an inner in next year. Which is a good thing. I mean,
Yeah, I think so. Right.
And it's usually at the general manager's discretion, so like last year when I did 100%, depending on the critical nature of the role of the individual is getting education, it may make more sense. Do 100%. We got a lineman that wants to do business finance. It may make sense. Not be a full amount position.
That's what I'm saying.
it's
And major dependent, it sounds like, okay.
Major dependent in terms of, well, is it dependent upon something that's kind of related to adding to their skills here?
somebody wants to go and
You could give those. You could give those.
we have done that. We've had office customer service people that have went to get some Spanish training and we paid for that.
So with that, we'll continue that right, that's like the other. So that's really just my favorite category, the friendly community member. First and foremost, it benefits all people in this room, is the street light for cities, county. Probably.
County's backing off on the street light requirement. You saw the agenda last week.
That's what did the city.
Yeah.
Trying to do it at intersections instead of,
Everywhere.
every so many feet.
Which will help this.
Then crime.
There's a balance there.
What I hate is when there's no light at the intersection, but in the middle of the block. and people about get run over because they didn't see the intersection.
That's my street.
Sorry, we could go down a deep hole in that. I'll just keep moving here. So, we have not changed these numbers. They stay about the same year over year. I wish I could say that we stick 100% to these categories, but we kind of have what makes sense to put those funds for the year. Of course, in many colors, maybe we have it. Stay under. The point of the matter is we try to be where we can. I went to Rotary today and Operation Hope presented at Rotary. They used to be a regular participant of that. We switched back this year, or last year. So they see, that's usually an employee driven one as far as if they're out in the base and contribute there, but if it makes sense. And, one that's not on here is the annual summer rocket camp. Your grandkids went to that 2 years ago.
The park and rec, well, no, it's through, oh,
It's Wasatch County. Parks and Rec.
Yeah. Yeah.
That varies year to year. Some years it's $200, some years it's actually a fun one. They send us a thank you card every year. We're trying, we do focus on those STEM ones a little bit more so than popular ones. Sure. Any questions or concerns with community? Okay, contingency planning is one that historically hasn't been much of a discussion point, but this year, a lot of things have been working. So we do maintain a capital project reserve account, put $10,000 a month in that. Well, obviously it doesn't grow real fast, but we have to dip into it periodically. It usually stays in the $600,000 and $900,000 range. We'll just keep putting that 10,000 in there. Pretty much set it up to buy trucks.
Is that the one we used to buy the property out?
No, that's a different. This one was really set up because we got hit with a couple of big line trucks. So, you're gonna see that we're over this year on our capital trucks because 2 trucks that weren't supposed to get here until April
Or here.
showed up 3 weeks ago.
Oh, surprising.
And they were $389,000 each, so that's what that reserve fund's for, to help us with those. Trucks are really hard. You guys approved in that percent motion, the surplus of those, or they replaced this year. They were on schedule to be delivered. We needed them as far as aging out of the trucks. But the problem is when we placed the order a year and a half ago,
Let's hope the supply chain's up as long as it is.
Yeah.
Apparently on that it wasn't.
anyways, that's that one, but we're saying PPIF fund is down. Not where it was. Part of the reason is where it was at was because we put all those bond proceeds in there to pay us back for years of projects we had.
Oh, that's where you got the 3 million I'm getting.
But that's where we took that 3 million reserve. Now there's probably maybe $3.5 million sitting in there that needs to go towards paying off the rest of the building bill. And then that would drop us down to just over 2. Oh,
That's what-
$3 million.
Well, no, we built the bond.
as long as we're spending
You
it,
basically park it there until you spend it.
well, if I have past project expenses, we'll cover it. If not, then it stays out there, but the 2023 bond was really weird because we got it at such a good interest rate. And then the markets were kind of suppressed them, but things started to take off the markets. So we were seeing positive interest. I'm paying 100,000 in interest, but I'm bringing in 180,000. So there's that positive arbitrage. When you're in that situation, you gotta give that 80,000 back to treasury bonds. Unless you can justify pulling that money out of a bond fund, which we could, because as we talked in the audit committee, we have $16 million of impact fee related projects that we've spent in the last 9 years that we didn't ever have enough impact fees for. That were all, it could have been associated. And one of the parameters you would have read in here is that it's for these projects, the projects I had on the screen, or other capital as needed, which then allows us, and then if you remember 2 months ago, 3 months ago, we talked about that. Fall back funds. That's one that allows us to. So that's where I'm going with this, Kevin. If I keep it out at US Bank in the bond project fund, or I keep it in the PTIF on ours, it's the same because we instruct US Bank to put that money in the PTIF treasurer's fund. So we get the same interest either way. I just, if it's looking like we're gonna have that positive arbitrage, I then go pull it into our account. We have plenty of project to support it. So, that answered a question there. Sometimes I say a lot of words, but I don't say. So, make sure you get it. Historically, we've had a this year, I bumped that contingency up to 250,000 due to the 2 retirees that they have some pretty good balances that not to say they are going to, but they do. Insurance premiums, they are all over the board depending on who you talk to, but given most of the research I've done, showing about a 3% overall rise. You can see that general liability goes up about 3.6, vehicles goes up about 10%, but there's other areas that were covered that are seeing some drops and significant drops. So that's why the average is 3%, so built in 3%. If you guys have a better way of throwing that dart, gladly accept any help. I'm good to insurance. Any other questions or comments on that? All right, so object 7 is our safety, utility, reliability. We will keep our clothing allowance the same, the FR and PPE. Every year we have to buy some kind of PPE to try and rotate it so that we're not buying it all at once. Like we'll buy new hot sticks or new gloves, or maybe we'll buy a bunch of FR-rated rain gear. Riley just kind of tells me what he needs, and I plan that in there, but it's usually about the same amount. So we try and keep our employees safe. Tree trimming on the reliability side, that just continues to increase in cost due to the amount of trimming that we have to do. There's more and more trees, but there's also more areas that people are living, and so that increases the number of that to do. So one thing that there's been a lot of litigation in electric utilities in cabinet areas, industry areas. You've seen that the Palisade fire was actually started by a guy on purpose. It was not a utility, but they definitely targeted the utility at first. As a result of that, you're seeing in our industry a significant increase in vegetation management policies. UAMPS, we had, was it 1 or 2 presentations, heavily addressed it. But one of the things that we've got in next year's budget is to actually go into some of the areas in Midway and do it. Tell you that for 2 reasons. One being that it's going to increase our budget amount on that, and 2, it's going to increase the phone calls you're going to take from people upset took out their 30-year maintenance. Okay.
Do you want to show us a map so that Kevin's prepared?
We're gonna bring that to you next month.
Okay, we need to see that map. I mean, I think people understand. I mean, are you talking about a 10-foot strip all the way across, right? I think they'll understand with the wildfire risk, and you all probably know about the new state law that's going to be hitting the high wildfire risk areas with a new property tax. And so whoever ends up having to pay that, I hope I don't, but you know what I'm saying. Those areas are very likely to be in that new tax. They'll get the new tax. They need to see that we're trying to decrease their risk, right? And this is one thing that will hopefully do so over time, but I don't know. I don't know if the state's gonna be able to put all the pieces together, and we're still waiting on where the map will and the fee will go.
We'll have that next month, part of our board. One thing that we are doing though, and I factored this in, kind of a tough one to figure out, but for those people who have that 30-year maple, I hate to see it go, we've negotiated a deal with the local nursery that will give that tree trimmer permission, give them a voucher where they can get $250 voucher on a tree up to forage.
Somewhere else in their yard, off the strip.
Off it.
That's pretty good.
For 250.
Huh?
That's a good deal.
But I don't think they'll get it. I'm just saying if they get a voucher, they'll honor that voucher.
That's right.
So trying to soften that blow a little bit. So back on safe utility reliability.
Well, we need as part of that, them know that they don't shut down the power if there's a risk to those lines. We gotta
Yeah.
have a clear cut, or you'll all be in the dark.
There is truth there. So, any other questions there? All right. Energy supply, we put this on there just to make sure you're aware that each year we are doing our best to balance whether we buy the energy or we produce it internally. We do our best through the risk management policy to secure the right resources at the right time of day. So.
And Emily does a good job on that.
Yes, she does. Now you're gonna see this poke out at you when you see the budget on the next item. You'll see that they're leaning towards more internal generation next year, instead of the market
They're
purchase.
meeting the company.
Yes, we are. You'll see it in the budget, so that'll poke out at you when we get there.
And the last bullet point is staffing. So, as I mentioned a little bit ago, we have 2 employees that hit their 30 years this coming year. It's Travis, Brad, and Jason.
Oh, I see that happen.
So there is that potential or risk, I guess you could call it. As well as we do have potential for 5 new employees on our system over the foreseeable future. A generation technician, GIS specialist, project manager, warehouseman, in the building that might facilitate the gen. We have been doing contract labor for that. It's just like a fleet. Eventually you get to the point where you're spending enough on contract labor.
Keep your own
to
eye.
hire some needs. Any problems or concerns about that?
No, but you had said, let me just restate that.
So that being the case, that's what I will
See.
build into the budget. What we have on the next line item there is a pretty good look at that, with the exception of changing the demo. I'll have to go back and recut that. So I believe this is an action item.
Okay, so, board, it's back to you if you want to discuss or approve any of the budget directives that Art has presented.
I would make a motion to approve the budget directives as presented.
I'll second there.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll start on the vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes,
Yes.
okay, thank you. That passes 5-0.
Is Aaron on yet?
No, let's go to the preliminary budget now, please.
Yeah. No,
And did you get a red line copy that you were able to present here? Because the board packet, didn't have that.
no, I looked at that and I thought with the change on that.
You better tell us where any changes are.
I didn't change from what's in the board.
I mean, from the
Right.
previous year, the previous year, this year. If there's any changes from this year to
Next year.
Yeah.
that's what I'm interested in.
So, these are the rates and fees. By state code, we have to have these approved every year. There are no updated numbers on these from what we did prior years. Okay. If you want to go through them, or I figure we'll go through them in detail at the public hearing. If we do have a new fee, then I'll bring it. So these are the rates that you approved in April of this year. I have, so they'll run through September 22nd of next year for our cycle 2 customers, going through September 9th for our cycle. We can change for the last 3 months of the year. So you'll notice that on residential pumping, we're moving from the standard tiered rate over to the time of use we found. Residential time of use. Saying put opt out dates starting in 2026. That's the best I can do with minimize it. You remember you adopted it. So the majority of customers would be capable of this time.
It's opt out of time of use.
Okay, so everyone's gonna be opted in when? January?
For cycle 1, they would be September 9th, the kilowatt hours of 26.
Of 26?
Kilowatt hours from that point forward would be for cycle 1. So cycle 1, just so everybody knows, is basically Heber. Cycle 2 would be September 23rd of 26, and that's pretty much everything but.
So we really need to let our customers know this is coming.
Yeah.
Basically September for everything.
There's a lot of things that are gonna happen with that time of use. One of the things we need to consider.
Instead of it,
To do the billing, we can break it up into 4 different groups, and I don't have to evaluate 300 meters this way. 600. Basically, have 2 days.
I'm not sure why you're asking that. That's why I have a question. Is the 4 cycles for different groups of customers? So you're
Different
taking
hotels.
more
Right.
questions.
Like right now, as I said, basically cycle 1 is Heber,
Mhm.
but we could take Midway and put it with Charleston. And cycle.
Just even it out and then.
Just try and even it out so that we
Okay.
can. It makes it,
Easier to take a look at everything.
yeah, so when we started the cycle 1, cycle 2, there's like 8,000 customers. So you split it, 4,000 to build,
Right.
watch. And 16,000 customers. In this,
So go to 4 cycles, it'd still be 4,000,
but it,
more or less.
yeah, you basically have somebody that's all we do week after week. Just
Mhm.
evaluate data. show the difference.
Totally makes sense. When will you make that switch?
It would have to happen probably all this time.
So
Next
next
September.
fall.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a process called binning where we have to go in and the meters, because you're trying to pull that daily, those numbers and understanding. There's some meters that are struggling to connect. But when you're only billing based on a total kilowatt hours over the period, we have tools by which we can estimate that fairly easily. But if I gotta be able to show
And then
that
if you
Kevin used,
overestimate or under, then you correct it the next cycle.
but usually the system, the tools are designed, they're actually pretty good. But if Kevin uses 10 kilowatt hours from 6 to 7, uses 3 from 7 to 8, 1 from 8 to 9, so on and so
Your
forth.
billing's different.
But his meter's not communicating, then we have to do this binning process to go back and fix all that and pull we basically have to reach back out to the meter, find out what the numbers were. We don't care why I didn't send it. It could have been a big bad ugly cloud or somebody parked their slip truck in there. So we're not so much concerned about unless it's month after month after month, it's the same meter. So that's why I say right now we're binning about 200 meters a cycle. Well, we've only got when we have 16,000 customers signed. Do the math, we may not have enough time in those 2 days to bin all that. That's why I said we're gonna.
Spread it out over 4 weeks.
I know it has nothing to do with this. I just wanted you to be aware of what our billing cycles are and how they change.
Makes sense.
And you know who loves this discussion the most? Right. She has to type up everything. Anyways, these rates, you've seen them all numerous times, just be aware of them. The rebates, I gotta give it Jared, because I think we have one more rebate that's gotta be added on to here. No, it's right there, he takes time now. So, no, it's a different one. There's a heat tape rebate. So, this could change by next meeting, but these are all previously approved. If you're wondering which ones are the most popular, refrigerators and thermostats, and level 2 chargers.
Yep.
What's the whole house fan? Attic fan? To just to move the air around better.
You see quite a few heat pumps going in. So it's kind of trendy. That's a lot of people. All right, now down to the budget. I want to make sure I'm presenting it the way you want it. So in addition to the numerical side of it, also years back, it was requested that we have 3 years of actuals, and 1 year budget. for comparison purposes. So that's the next page of E7 of this document, page 7. This is the state required format. They want you to have your 24 actual, in the case of 2026 budget. So you have the 24 actual, you'll have the 25 budget, as well as what we're forecasted to come in at, and then our 26 budget. So you can kind of see what a year's actuals look like versus what we thought we were gonna do last year versus what it's looking like we're gonna do this year versus.
What do you anticipate you're gonna next year?
Okay. So with that being the case, that's when I'll stick to, but I think it was, I think that's 6 years ago. It was requested that we put 24 actual, 25 actual, 23 actual, 24 actual, 25 forecast, and then 26 budget. So you kind of see what the trend is over. So I've got that presentation if you want it differently.
Okay, so just to point it out, Bart, go ahead on the power purchases, please, and then versus the gas generation down below.
Yeah, so if you look, we're forecasting to finish this year at 15 million roughly in power purchases, excluding the Jordanelle. The Jordanelle portion that goes to Lehigh and St. George. And the reason I exclude it is because it's up in. Okay. But then the gas generation is looking at about 2.3 million. So total combined energy, we're looking 17.4 million. Okay. To finish this year. That's compared to last year's 11.4 and 1.8. We're definitely up from 24. And then next year, we're about 13.5 in the power purchases and 4.6 there, so about 18 million. So we're increasing by about 800,000.
Why are all those in parentheses? Are they?
It's to show that we're sending money
Oh,
That's how
okay,
accounts do negatives.
Expense.
okay. I knew it thing so negative, but I thought, why are all those negative?
away. The revenues are showing up as positive and expenses are showing
Okay,
So 800
on power purchase or
over 17.3, less than 5%.
yeah.
Jason, do you want to explain why you switched to the gas generation more than the power purchases?
Just, going into that EDAM market, definitely just, they're also changing their transmission formula, as far as how they're gonna bill each individual member after we go into that energy day ahead market. And, both those things, I think, give us the indication that we may need to rely on, internal generation a little bit more next year. Not expose ourselves to a kind of an unknown market at this point, we get into that market and that market's a lot cheaper, then you'll see that fluctuate. You'll spend less gas and we'll buy more off the market if it's really what people say it's gonna do and make, make wholesale power, cheaper on the day ahead. But, that's probably the biggest driver right now. It's just kind of that unknown, and we do have control of, the top portion of the portfolio's destiny by being able to just keep our loads down by running internal generation, in lieu of being in a market that we just don't know that much about yet. So,
We don't know that much about it, and neither does anyone else.
So much
It's a big
control that we.
yeah, so that's the reasoning behind it. But, that's literally become day ahead decisions and your staff here and, we'll be gauging, monitoring that market closely. And like I said, this could be completely different, you know? That market may be so low that you don't run the units that much at all, which would push those dollars into the power purchases rather than.
Gas generation.
Gas generation.
Understand. This will be interesting.
It's gonna be an interesting year on that. The biggest line item in the budget, yes, yeah.
These two.
That's 50% of our budget. It definitely has the ability to cause a bit of stress.
Or relief.
Which, if you look, in 2024, we had a $400,000 operating loss. If you took depreciation out, then we showed a net benefit of 2.3. With that, we had forecasted that this year having almost a $3 million operating loss. Your rate action in April. So right now, we're forecasting about $195,000. And if you look at next year, we're almost a balanced budget. It ain't close. I actually, when it pulled together, I was right? Wow, $600.
Yeah.
Hope they don't hold me to it.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
But depreciation, that's another big line item. We were 3.4 million in 24. We energized that substation. And that took us up to about 4.2 million. So almost $1 million impact. This year, we've got quite a bit of capital that's going to be energized, or the building. We're still being told January 3rd is when the keys will be turned over. So we'll start depreciating January 14, we'll start to depreciate. So we're seeing that number keeps creeping up.
I apologize to go back. Salaries, wages, benefits. So 1,175,000 in 2026, our projected 964. Is the majority or big chunk of that is related to gas generation? Or
No, these are
unallocated?
These ones are me, Jason.
Okay.
Big driver. Part of it. We have that 5% and also had a little bit of an uptick. Any other questions on that? I'll go into the individual buckets more next. Seeing
All right, it looks like we will discuss that more next month. Now we're going to move into the last item before Jason's report. So Jason, will you please review and talk about the changes to the employee handbook on call pay?
Yeah, so, we haven't really done anything with on-call pay, for well over a decade. And in my, mad exercise of, having conversations with all employees, it did come up pretty much, it was pretty consistent. So, this is our attempt to address that and bring it to the board. The board would like to approve it. And that is just this change to the employee handbook. The on-call period, currently paying $300 for the on-call period, we would take that to $400. And also etch this out, the 3 hours would go away. So they'd go to time and a half just as soon as they get $400 for being on call for the on-call period. And staying at home and following all these requirements of being on call. But as soon as they got the call, that they'd be on the time and a half rate
Okay, so
immediately. So
how long is the on-call period?
they're on call for a week straight.
Okay, so it's a week.
$400 for being on for a week.
Okay.
That's if they never get called out at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you get
Usually
called
get-
out, it goes time
It's
and a half.
time and a half.
Right, but they.
What we would like to change. Thank these employees very much. About 24/7 shop.
It seems more. We never. Yeah.
On call outside.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not talking.
Well, and
Yeah,
when I did it, the most frustrating ones were, nice weekend. No, you're just sitting at home because you're just waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
You're
Or
on
you want to
call.
be out fishing.
But you'd like to be doing something different, I didn't mind actually getting called out to work. I would just be personally, but it's just, kids playing soccer in, Murray and you can't go down there because you've
Mhm.
got the responsibilities of being on call. So anyway, it's just one of those things. You are asking a lot of an employee to be on the porch like that. And like I say, we've not made a change to this in over a decade. And, we have employees that know exactly when we made a change to it, and reminded me of it during those.
They required to.
Or do we need motion?
Stay
Yeah,
an
we do.
hour, or-
within so many miles probably, isn't it?
I'll make a motion to change the on-call from $300 to $400.
Is that the only change?
Well, we're also,
And striking out the
and we're
words.
striking the
Oh, and striking out whatever needs to be struck out.
As presented.
As presented, okay.
I'll, right,
Sid
I'll
already-
second that. So you
Sid
are,
already got it, as long as it still stands.
yes, I'll second.
All right. Are you ready for the vote, Kevin?
Aye.
Yes.
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 5-0. Thank you. All right, Jason, your GM report, please.
Yeah, so, UAM's report, they're still going down the path of all requirements. We just notified them that we're not interested in the all requirements project that they are forming. As it's been presented so far. It really, I know that some that have gone to some of the UAMPS meetings on this, it really takes the autonomy out of what, this board does for the company. And so that next project that comes about, that all requirements, if you're in that project, that would not come back to this board. It would, all the requirements would develop that project and, let's say that it's, a new project you guys don't want anything to do with. If you're in the all requirements and UAMPS decides to develop it, you don't have a say. So
Thank you
Anyway,
for that position.
yeah, it's just kind of where we're at as far as where that's set right now. Next project we're in is firm power supply project. We just got an update on the Fremont Solar and Storage Project, which we approved last month. There were, I think, they were still waiting on 13 other entities for their governing body approval on that. And they were positive that it will be fully subscribed. So government public affairs, you know, that Mike Squires, I don't know if you've met him. He does a pretty good job as far as keeping up to date on this type of stuff. You know, we went over kind of, you know, what the federal shutdown is doing to the, you know, to power and electric. And, you know, it holds up quite a bit of stuff. You know, there's always a long queue for FERC approvals, you know, on various projects out there, you know, and that's where that's not completely shut down. It's certainly slowed up quite a bit, as is EPA and some other things. Power industry. We got kind of an update on kind of the executive orders and regulations on coal and regional aid. And, you know, he also gave us a report of so estimated savings were, they weren't near as high as what was promised as of yet, but, you know, maybe they'll keep grinding on that. I guess if, you know, they lay off a whole bunch of government workers, maybe that number will go up quite a bit. I don't know. We'll just kind of see how we get out of this federal shutdown. And, you know, another one to keep an eye on is that Fix Our Forests Act. The power industry is very much in favor of, you know, what just came out of committee. You know, that's a good bill for us as far as, you know, fixing some of the over-regulation. There are lines go through national forests, but it also does a good job of, in the industry's opinion, of, you know, putting more onus on the landowner, which is the federal government, to clean up their yard, you know, which, you know, we'll see how it, now that it's out of committee, we'll see how it actually, you know, goes and how much it gets modified through the rest of the process. But, you know, right now it looks like a pretty decent bill for the industry. So,
Clean up their yard, I like that.
Miller County, you know, that's the peaking project that's down by Holton, that is being proposed down by Holton, Utah. They're currently working with, you know, the nearby residents. You know, they're having meetings, you know, they are going to planning commission meetings in Miller County and kind of explaining what they're going to be coming to for the development of that. And they're also working on getting RFPs and that type of stuff out for the long lead materials. So that project is progressing. The big thing is the pool project. We currently have a draft, Emily, I and Adam, of their new pool agreement with this Energy Day Ahead market. The current pooling agreement won't work with this Energy Day Ahead market. So they really have to do a new pooling agreement. I've read through it a couple times. There's definitely some things in there that I, you know, would like to challenge him a little bit on. But that's gonna be something that's coming to the board, you know, right after the first of the year at some point.
Yeah, there's timeline,
No,
not
no.
a chance.
Mhm.
They they said they could.
I just don't see
Zero
that.
chance of that.
So anyways, like I say, staff's still reviewing that, and it will likely be on the next agenda as a discussion topic for us here, in November, where we're not meeting in December. Cause they are on a fast timeline, but like Adam said, there's no way they're gonna meet it. You know, it's an agreement, it's gotta go back to every governing body. So,
Particularly with turnover.
yeah,
of elected officials.
yeah,
We're 4 months out.
yeah,
If I'm putting money.
yeah. So, that's that one. In the Power County project, that's the combined cycle plant that we signed up for. That's gonna be built in Power County, Idaho. It went into executive session, and not enough was talked about for us to go into executive session. They're basically, discussing where the status is on their conditional use permit on the project. And, you know, what's been discussed with, planning commissions up there, so. As, you know, anybody that probably guess, nobody wants a power plant in their backyard no more than they want a transmission line. These require both. Yeah, that would be the, you know, the report on UAMs, or what was key things that were discussed. IPA, good news that IPA, you know, the unit 3, the gas unit is, met its, its finish line. It hasn't been turned over completely yet. They're expecting that in early November. And it's running and running well. Unit 4, the second gas turbine, is online and going through its commissioning. It's expected date for being, you know, complete and in the queue is first part of December. And the last day the coal units will operate is the 26th of November. So at that point in time, you know, IPP will be a gas plant and no longer a coal plant. So timing's a little bit different on their nitrogen, or their hydrogen product going into those turbines. That's going to be more, you know, first quarter and second quarter of next year, is that as they try to get that nitrogen blend going there. So, but you know, it's all pretty well good news. You know, as far as everything goes, they did finish their audit. They got a clean audit. IPA did, which is good. They moved, you know, a lot of money, especially as they've been building, you know, talking billions. So it's good to see that they got a clean audit out of that. So, and that would be my IPA report. Building update is they're painting right now, the interior, a little bit of exterior that's left to that needs painted is being painted. And the, power to panel is getting real close. We're waiting on some breakers, so that we can get power to the panel and get the building, energized electrically. The gas line from the other campus has been run over to it, and all that trenching is complete. We've got asphalt over the top of it and everything else. You know, it's getting there. It's just one of those projects, you know, just one
When it
step
gets
at a
clo-
time.
When it gets closer, it gets longer.
Yeah.
Because there's little details.
So, but it's looking good. You know, maybe next month after it's done being painted, we can, well, next month we got those. But anytime anybody wants to come by and take a look at it, I mean, just come and hit one of us up and we'll go walk you through it for sure. So,
I need to, because I missed that.
I did too, and I'd like to go see what it looks like now.
And it's changed so much since then.
Oh, I'm sure.
as soon as we get power to panel, then the elevator people will come and get the elevator installed too. That's one of the reasons we're really pushing to get power there is so we can get the elevator. And that would be my report, unless there's any questions for me on anything else.
I don't think we need a closed session.
No.
Okay, everybody, we are done. Does anybody want to make the motion?
Kendall wants to.
I'll make a well, Kevin needs to, I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Next meeting, November 19th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that passes 5-0.
We're done
How about-
faster than I thought it would be.
That's gonna be